Greetings and welcome to Gnodcast with Gnod founding members Paddy Shine and Chris Haslam. Gnod Bless.
Lawrence.
Paddy.
Welcome to the Gnodcast, man. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
So Lawrence, let's kick it off with tell us and our listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do, and and how we know each other, how we met, really.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think about this. I think the first time I met you, actually, you might not even remember, but was outside the mill, and I was doing front of house for a band called Iceage.
Yeah, I remember it well. I couldn't remember if that was the actual first time that we had met each other and spoken to each other, because I had seen you perform, I'm sure, with Shit and Shine and maybe even TODD before we spoke.
Right, okay.
Possibly.
Yeah. And then I guess the first time we had a proper chat was, I think, in Preston.
That's right,
all day, crazy all day.
That was a fucking gas gig, that, man. The gig where the promoter at the end was fucking crying because he didn't have any fucking money to pay anyone.
Oh, right.
Oh, my God. A really nice lad. The promoter, he's a friend of ours, actually.
Yeah. I don't remember too much about the gig. I just remember, like, being a little bit, walking in and being like, oh, shit, this is...
Do you remember that gig? Do you remember at that gig, that guy who sawed the guitar in half?
That's the gig, yeah.
That was a fucking great performance.
Yeah.
Sounded amazing.
Yeah. His gig was good, actually, where he was like, he had a guitar plugged in, and whilst it was all happening, he was just like drilling holes in it and sawing it in half and slowly dismantling it. And it was all coming through this huge rig. It sounded fucking great, actually. Yeah, that was a good part of the gig, yeah. But the gig was a total washout, wasn't it? There was about 7 people there.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people. I think that was, I can't remember what kind of period of Shit and Shine that was. I think that might have been the kind of weird dancing stage of Shit and Shine, where I was just more dancing than doing anything else.
You were on the mixing desk. From what I remember, you had a big desk, and you seemed to be mixing it or dubbing parts of it out. Right, and maybe there was like 1, maybe 2 drummers. The guy who's always on drums for Shit and Shine, he was there. I can't remember his name.
Chris,
yeah. And Craig doing whatever weird electronic stuff. It was good. It's good. Always good with Shit and Shine. But yeah, the gig was a fucking washout. But that's Preston for you, really. You know, it's only last year really we had our first good Preston gig. At the Ferret. I mean, saying that, people who might be the Preston gigs are always good. The people are nice, but there's fucking hardly ever anybody there, and it can just feel a bit like.
Yeah, it's good especially if you travelled. It's good to play in front of a crowd, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure.
But as an audience member, sometimes I fucking love it if there's only a few people there. They can stand around. You can have a little. Go over here, have a listen over here, and have to queue at the bar. It's like a little private gig.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it makes it a bit more like that. Yeah, that's why I always liked Monday or Tuesday night gigs at the Mill, because there'd usually be a touring band rolling in, and obviously it's like Monday, Tuesday night, and they're like, fuck's sake. But there'd always be like a few of us there, and I've seen some fucking really nice shows. And it's kind of like almost just what you need as well on a Tuesday night, just like this little private gig that's like a tonic for the soul.
Yeah.
And it's like the band might be thinking, fucking hell, what's this all about? But I always make a point of going up and going, that is exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. If so, at least I might have that consolation from it. But yeah. But anyhow, we digress. Tell us a bit about yourself, Lawrence.
Well, I'm like a touring front of house engineer that I've been doing sound for 25 years or something like that at this point, 26 years,
Wow.
on and off, but touring probably for 20 years. And yeah, I've done a bit of both, done from both sides of the desk. I think there was bits of shit and shine where I would also mix and perform, which was really stressful because, well, you know what it's like if, you know, especially with kind of anything with any feedback in it, 90% of house engineers are just like, fuck, something's broken, and just pulling it all down. And so without having our own engineer, which we never did, I think we picked up some young lad in Ancona once and we're like, do you want to come with us for 4 or 5 days? And he was like, yeah, great. Just took him in the van with us, and that worked out all right.
Nice.
But yeah, just saved me having a nervous breakdown every, you know.
Yeah.
But
great for him as well to, like, you know, get his chops mixing some chaos. And obviously this kid loved it. He must have really liked it. Is that why you got him on board?
Yeah, either that or we were really threatening. I don't know.
Get in the van.
Get in the fucking van, Matthew. I think that's what his name was. Yeah. But yeah, weird. He hasn't spoken to us since. Oh, yeah.
Was his name Matthew, right? Was his name really Matthew?
His name was Matthew, yeah.
Okay. I wonder if that's the guy that we met who was doing sound for Ovo and ended up doing sound for us when we were touring with Ovo in Italy. Was his name Matthew, Chris?
I don't think so.
He was kind of quite a slight chap. I mean, this was quite a long time ago, but yeah, he could have had like a little kind of moustache. And
it's fucking him. It's fucking him, because that's exactly, you're describing the guy that was on the road with us, and he was great. He was like he was really good at dealing with like what we would throw at him, which was like sort of random noise. He knew how to fucking deal with it and make it sound good.
Well, we softened him up for you, yeah.
wasn't he Italian?
He was Italian. He was
Italian. All right,
yeah.
okay.
I'm telling you, it's the same fucking guy.
Can't be that many. Can't that be that many
mustachioed Italian guys?
I haven't met that many Italians called Matthew.
Yeah. So go on. Anyway, so you were up behind the desk and performing.
Yeah, so I've done a bit of that as well, and yeah, just I'm getting really back into loving mixing front of house. I've always kind of like I got zero formal training, and I kind of learned how to mix at the Tunbridge Wells Forum in the kind of late 90s, and it was at a time in the industry where people were just horrible. Touring crews were more often than not very horrible bullies, and you know, I was like 15, 16 years old, and you get these like men coming in and mixing on our desk and hiding, all of their settings with a towel and stuff like that. It's just like, come on, teach a 15-year-old kid how to EQ a rat tom. I mean, it's not So it was a very terse environment, live shows then, I feel, and it took me a long time to kind of get, no one at the club really, they were all kind of like functional engineers. All the engineers there weren't really engineers,
Okay.
So no one really had any experience, so it took me a long time to kind of get going. So I kind of had to learn to kind of charm my way into kind of not getting shouted at. So which has served me quite well.
Yeah, wow. And dealing with that much fucking stress, the stress of the whole show resting on your shoulders at like 15, 16 years of age. I mean, fucking hell, man.
Yeah, it was as teenagers, it seems to be a little bit different now. Like 15-year-olds now seem to be like, I mean, I was a wild teenager at 15. Like 15-year-olds, Iceage, where in the same town that I grew up in, they're like more like 11-year-olds. They're all kind of very
I get
sheltered and never been allowed outside playing, and I'd been taken myself round a village since the age of 8, dealing with all these village psychos and stuff, as a young child, it does a lot for you,
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I think that's one of the things that with our generation, with me, we're probably similar ages, like not too far off, but we had no computers and phones really to distract us. We just had to go out into the world and fucking deal with the madness and, and get stuck in. Whereas these days, people are mainly getting stuck in the digital realm on TikTok and shit like that. So,
yeah.
And also kids nowadays, I mean, they're fucking whizzes. Like, I mean, you were saying you were self-taught there. How has that translated for you over the years of having to, I'm assuming most of the venues you go to now, you're using digital desks and pretty new technology. Do you ever get phased by any of that, or are you with it all? Or?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah. I mean, not like I was obviously engineering and touring as the digital started kind of coming in, and it was horrible at the beginning. Like the first flush of digital desks, especially in the smaller spaces, like 200 capacity to 500 capacity rooms, where all these, they're absolute just so hard to use. They sound awful, that first, and it was one of the many times I've quit.
Okay.
One of the first times I quit, I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. This is all of a sudden really horrible. And the first time I think I ever used a digital desk was I was out with Todd, and because I started as Todd's engineer. That's how I started with Shit and Shine and Todd. As a front of house engineer, and we went to this place in Germany. I think it might have even been Bastard Club in Berlin, but we went in, they had this little shitty Yamaha thing, and fuck, okay, all right, sound check. It took ages to sound check as well, because you can't just and then was like, all right, well, that's weird, and then came back for the show wasn't there.
Oh shit.
Had to just do it all from scratch again, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. So I quit, and then I kind of got pulled back in. I've been pulled back into doing this so many times after being like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like nowadays I have on my own desk and plug in rigs and 4 fucking screens and like RTAs and it's like a spaceship, and I'm really not very techie at all naturally. Like computers and stuff, I'm really very reticent. I've had to learn, sat there for 2 days trying to work out how routers work and stuff like that. It's boring stuff, but I've done it.
Wow. Fair fucking play, man. Yeah, fair play. I mean, I haven't got the brains to do that as much as I have the will to try and learn stuff like that. I just don't have the brain. It's like I was saying to Rakes as well, I don't know how you guys handle that fucking pressure, of having to, if something goes wrong, it's just that the pressure of that. Me, I can just about handle when the drummer fucks up or something, and I'm like, you fucking cunt. But I can't imagine it. I remember when I first was doing stage teching with Rakes, because we used to do Supernormal together. He'd do sound and I'd do stage.
Yeah. And which is probably quite a friendly chill.
Yeah, it was. But I remember the first time we went from just using analog cabling, so I had to dig a trench where I'm putting this much fucking cabling into a trench, to then putting an Ethernet cable from a digital desk in the same trench. And I was like, so wait a minute, all that information is coming down here, and I was like, what happens if it breaks? Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell.
So same thing. The thing is though, it's as stable, if not more stable. It's the same, same thing that happens is if the analog snake breaks. It don't work anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And you've got to rerun it or do something else.
Yeah.
But you know, even with that kind of stuff, normally if you run an Ethernet cable, those Cat5 cables, people will run 2 or 3. You know, if it fucks up, you just plug the next one in and boom, it's all
I think that's
there.
what we did. Yeah, that's what was
there
happening.
You go.
Yeah. Breaks was like, don't worry. I'm still stood there 5 minutes later going, make any sense? But okay, so fucking hell, what were we saying then? I don't know.
We're still in the intro, were we?
We're in the intro. We're still in the intro, yeah.
So you do other stuff as well. You tour manage, don't you, Lawrence, as well at the moment?
I try not to, but yes,
Try not to.
Sometimes it's part of it, yeah.
So what? So like driving, tour managing, which is basically fucking babysitting, and doing live sound
and doing front of house, yeah.
Fucking hell,
it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Who have you been doing that for recently?
Last couple of since the pandemic, because everything got kind of thrown up in the air, and you know, before the pandemic, I had a very regular, you know, employment. I mean, I had a kid in the pandemic as well, so I was like, the pressure to work and earn money wasn't really on. You know, I was into traveling around and going farming and stuff, so I'd pretty much just give my calendar to Paul Carlin and be like, there you go, book me in, and then I'll fuck off on holiday when I'm not out with Wooden Shjips or Moon Duo. But so neither of those acts have toured since the pandemic. Well, Moon Duo's played in the States a little bit, but since the pandemic, I've been doing my main gig's probably been a young girl from London called Nilofer Yanya, kind of like wonky poppy kind of stuff. Really great little band, lovely bunch of musicians as well.
Nice.
Some Scouse lads and lasses called King Hannah, who are on City Slang. So I've got kind of Mazzy Star kind of vibe a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Who are lovely. Band called Nation of Language from New York, who are kind of Yazoo, New Order kind of sounding.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these all quite young? Are they quite young, all these people?
I like them young, but they're younger than me. I really enjoy touring with the younger acts.
Right. Why? Because you get to play the daddy role, the baby.
I just like, you know, like having done this for so long, I love that kind of like, what, beer is free.
Yeah.
You know, like I love being there for those first moments.
Yeah.
Kind of vampire off some kind of enjoyment out of the whole process.
Yeah. Instead of the totally like jaded fucking like, oh, this is shit beer.
My god!
This isn't local.
This is not the brand of sparkling water that I wanted, and you know. So I really enjoy traveling with younger acts, especially if it's their first European tour. If they're Americans, for example, and they're coming over, and it's always tends to be quite an eye-opening experience for them.
Oh, cool!
And it's nice to be there and kind of. You know, this is cool actually.
Yeah. That makes so much sense, man. That's a good approach. Yeah, like keep it fresh for yourself and get off on other people's kind of like buzz of a new situation. Yeah.
And you know, like having done, you know, like when I was in my early 20s, I did lots of metal bands, and I started kind of doing these bigger and bigger things. And it was horrible, you know. By the end of it, it's horrible. You know, you're doing these larger venues. Everybody there is professional. Everybody's making money out of it, and the vibe is horrible. So, you know, like stepping back a little bit, being like, okay, I'll drive and tour manage as well, and I get to sit in this kind of scene that I enjoy being in, where. You know, mainly nobody's, you know, definitely, you know, no one's getting rich out of it. You know, everybody wants to be there. All the musicians are likely dipping their hands in their pockets for rehearsal rooms and stuff still, and it feels a little bit more, it feels a bit more real.
Yeah.
Keep me interested a little bit longer.
Yeah, cool. That's a fresh approach, man. That's almost something I needed to hear because like the whole sort of touring thing has become. It's not become like really that difficult, but it's become more. What could I say? I guess get a little touch more anxiety in doing it, just because of the things that are happening in regards to like fucking carnets,
your carnets,
all this stuff that kind of like when we first had to go through it, it was kind of like, oh, this is nothing. It's just time. We're just adding a little bit of more time and a little bit more expense to what's happening.
I mean, it's hugely touring is very expensive now compared to like fuel and everything. Everything is just more expensive, and I've noticed it this spring, which is normally quite a busy touring period. It just like I've been speaking to people, and they're like, "That's just not happening this year,"
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's to do with the cost of touring.
Yeah.
And even venues like I was speaking to Nate at the Brunel the other day, and I was like, "What's your spring like?" And he was like, "It's just the quietest it's been for 10 years or something." I was like, "Oh wow, okay."
Wow.
Even a place like the Brunel, which is it's bad. It's bad how many gigs he puts on. He's got 3 venues in one building, and there's every time I go up there seems to be everything's all happening all at once. And
for sure,
like, whoa, okay. And like I think that first year after the pandemic, where the kind of thumb came off the hose and everybody had got like recorded records, and they were or had a record ready to go and tour, and everybody went out touring and just did 2022 was just, and then everybody's dropped back and be, oh, that was full on. Right, next album cycle, it's kind of synced a lot of people's.
Yeah, we have 2 records.
Yeah, well, there you go. You got to do double the touring. So
yeah,
in theory, you should still be on tour now.
Yeah.
I wish I was.
Yeah. Last year was definitely, it felt like very explosive, like kind of like and this year we're heading out for a month from the 28th of April till the 28th of May, well, till the 4th of June, so just over a month, which is probably a good time, because usually we go out at end of March to April, but this year it's different. But I am really interested to see what it's going to be like this year, because it has been more expensive already. Carnet, van hire, a lot of the good fees that we're getting for like festivals, we're getting a withholding tax slapped on the back of them, which we've not had before. Like in Europe, we've never had this sort of, I think it's 23%, maybe more than that, withholding tax. And it's like, oh fuck.
I don't even know what that is.
So as far as I know, in America, if you're non-American and you go on tour there, that you get automatically slapped on a 33% withholding tax on every fee, or at the end when you get all your fees, unless you pay like $1,000 or $2,000 for a lawyer to give you a piece of paper that says you are you don't have to pay the withholding tax. Either way, you're paying.
Sounds like a scam to me.
Yeah, a total scam. So now we're playing festivals like one in Switzerland, which is to be expected because Switzerland is outside of the EU, so we're getting taxed on that. But we're doing a couple of festivals, one in Germany, and I can't remember where else, but they're slapping a tax on as well. And we've never had that before. And I don't know if just because they're bigger fees, if it's
just come up into this realm
of fucking getting taxed, which is whatever. I mean, whatever. But if it's kind of like looking at the costs. I mean, one of our lads, he did a price breakdown of what we're all going to get paid per show, and I'm going to say it. I'm €12 each per show.
Yeah, that's rough. It's rough if you got, if you got a job, you got to take all your holiday off in a year.
Yeah. And then it's all reliant then on merch and and luck, just like luck of the draw, like nothing happens,
Yeah, exactly. Are your ticket prices? Are they?
They're fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying this, man, like 20 fucking euro, whatever, 15, 20 euro. I mean, it's too much. It's fucking too. We're asking too much of people, and it's just a weird vibe, like with that, and and it's really humbling to like go out and see like a full room, whether it's 200 people, 100 people, 500 people that have all paid 15, 20 euro.
Yeah.
And like that happens really, but like one place it would happen would be like Magazine 4 and Magazine Cat in Brussels, and always a full room. People have paid whatever the 15 euro, and we get our nice payment, which I feel is good for us. It's the right payment, and also we get this amazing venue that's all volunteer led. Gets a little bit of money out of it too, and that feels really good. That feels all right, but I don't know, like. Yeah, it depends if you're playing in London and it's 20 quid a ticket and you're kind of like, I don't know. I mean, 20 quid in London's fuck all to those fuckers, isn't it? They've got they spend that on a sandwich, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think maybe it does. I think it is quite standard, but it does seem a lot having maybe just being the age that we are now, and 20 years ago, it doesn't seem that long.
Yeah.
It's it was fucking £7 a gig.
Well, compared to when we first started, and we could just dive in a van, get over, in a van with like no windows in the back, so it was not even, but there was no checks or anything, and we'd just wing it all the way. And
200 quid a show, if we were lucky, 200 quid, make more money,
it was the best fee we'd got up until that point, like 200 euros. It was totally buzzing off that amount. But
we'd make more money fucking busking on the street before the gig. Do you know what I mean?
I would like to see Gnod busking.
Yeah, it was gas, man. I had
arrested.
I had the ultimate money making instrument at that time. And it was a novelty instrument at that time because there wasn't many of them around. It was one of those hang drum things. So I had one of those. So like I would sit down anywhere and the lads and that would just get out some bells. You know what I mean? And maybe like a couple of like squeeze boxes, and we'd all just make sure we were in the same sort of note. Play around it, and people would come from all over and be like, "Oh my God, what is this?" Throwing money at us, man.
Not talking about getting the Gnod rig out of the van and
imagine that. That would have been the one.
Hang drum through the Gnod rig on the corners. Yeah.
So I mean, you're obviously still into touring. You speak about it with such enthusiasm, and like I say, it's refreshing for me. I kind of needed to feel that energy from somebody who's been in the game so long. But do you feel like? Because I can sometimes be a bit. I mean, I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm also I have a healthy fucking dose of pessimism sometimes. And with the touring thing, I'm like, how much longer can we do this? I mean, do you get a sense at all that it's like becoming like almost too difficult for most bands, like, or do you think there's a way out of it, or what? How are you feeling about it?
I think it'll shake a few people off, but I think if you are if this is what you do and if this is who you are and what you love, it's amazing how much of a squeeze you'll put up with, what people will put up with, you might find that in a couple of years' time, you look at your expenses and you go, right, it's going to cost us €12 a person per gig to do this, and you'll still make that decision to go out there. And it is. It'll get harder. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Even with, like, say, costs of driving a van into Paris or Antwerp, I think it has one, or Amsterdam. they have these like kind of congestion charge,
yeah,
kind of fees, which
yeah,
also add up, and some of those cities, I imagine, in the next 10 years won't allow diesel vehicles in them at all.
yeah.
And I think touring musicians and acts are going to have to kind of contend with a lot of that, especially with your kind of, the kind of the guilt of a carbon footprint, like traipsing around Europe 10,000 miles in a diesel vehicle, and it's not a small,
it's a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not ridiculous. I mean, it's humans doing what humans do,
Yeah.
And there's so many things that could happen in the next 10, 20 years, to touring. But I think they'll always there's a demand for it. What are they going to stop? No more American bands in Europe and vice versa. It seems completely necessary for kind of culture.
Yeah, for sure.
That it kind of exchange and.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Like, if touring became really difficult, what would be a solution? I'm thinking, like, would it be worth this network of promoters that a booking agent has? Like somehow getting everybody together to say, okay, we can't do these big tours. Could we maybe hold more like festivals where a bunch of promoters get together, find a space, pick the bands, and get everybody there for 2 or 3 days, and do it that way rather than having bands traveling all over the place to go and play in small little venues to 50 people, 100, 200 or whatever. Yeah. Find a way to like make it work for everyone. Just been thinking of like solutions to it, or how we could do it, but I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm pretty excited, because I know that if you're putting out music and people are buying your records, then people want to see the shows, and like we want to play the fucking shows, so they're going to happen whatever way. It's just interesting to think about how it's going to plan out in the future,
Yeah. I mean, I hope it does. It does seem to be getting harder and harder. It'd be nice if it just got a little easier in some ways. It can't just get harder and harder and harder. I mean, it can, and it probably will do, but it would be nice. I wish that it wasn't.
So, give us have you been out recently? Have you just come back from somewhere?
Yeah, I was just in Germany with a pedal steel guitar player called Rob
Part Jim.
A jazz festival.
Oh, nice. So just a one-off
Just a
gig.
one-off, yeah.
Right. So you haven't been out touring yet in 2023?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I was out with a pop band, also a lovely bunch of Scousers called Banners, who are lovely. Yeah, I've done them a few times. But yeah, not that much this year. I've got some stuff in the diary, but yeah, last year was just very, very busy.
Yeah.
I could have worked every day last year.
Okay. So you can't give us any little anecdotes about some weird shit that happened in Europe this year? Have you been out there? Like,
oh well, I was attacked at the weekend whilst I was mixing by
what
60-year-old festival director.
What?
It hasn't happened to me a lot. I have been attacked multiple times, mainly whilst performing, but have been attacked whilst mixing a few times. But this guy, we kind of went in, was sound checking the band. They were kind of session. They're all session musicians. Basically, and they all play with different people. And I don't think they hadn't they were kind of just trying to run through some stuff because they hadn't kind of necessarily been in a rehearsal room next to each other. But they're all pro guys, and they so I was kind of trying to get them to kind of orderly sound check, let's start with the drums, and they were just going for it, I was like,
Okay.
they're not really listening to me. Okay, whatever, so we were kind of just kind of went for it. And he's playing his pedal steel. He's got this really very loud Messer amp on the stage, and it's pointing straight out to the audience. And it's, I was saying, I'm not going to insist on it, but can you turn down? No, okay, fair enough as well. So, and like, I do, I mix volume wise. I think the volume in which you mix is quite important, and you have to mix appropriately for the audience that's going to be there, and for how the best volume that an act will come across at,
Mm-hmm.
So unless I'm mixing, so like last year I was mixing John Spencer and the Hitmakers at the end of the year, who need to be extremely loud because they have 20 channels of bits of metal and abrasive guitar tones all coming at you in this kind of high mid-range area, and it needs to be of a certain volume to have the impact that is, that's part of it. Volume isn't essential to impact, but it's certainly a tool.
Yeah.
And so but if a band does not need to be loud, I'm not gonna just mix them extremely loud. So I was just trying to balance it up, and like 10 minutes before the end of the sound check, this guy taps me on the shoulder, and he's this older gentleman, and he's like, "Hi, I'm the festival director." I was like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" He's like, "It's way too loud," and he was like, "The law is this," and the law isn't that. It's just he's just decided that it's that there, and I'm like, "Well, it's a lot louder than that." And he said, yes, it has to be a lot quieter. And I said, "Oh, well, this is kind of the minimum that it's going to be, where it's balanced, but I'll try. I'm trying to keep the level down. I mean, it wasn't hugely loud.
How many dB?
It was probably 97 dB, which is quiet.
Fucking hell, it's
quiet,
fucking...
but appropriate for the room. You have a room full of people in their 60s, seated.
Yeah, okay.
You can't mix at 105. So at the end, so he's told me this 10 minutes before the sound check, which is, I can't really do much at that stage. They're playing. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll try and keep it down. The engineer who's kind of babysitting me, he's like, it's fine. He's happy. They're happy at this level. I was like, oh, cool. So like comes the gig, the support band are like this kind of hype, loads of percussion, and there's all these people kind of dancing, and the Purple Scarf Brigade, as I like to call them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like it's not really quiet, but it's like a sensible level. And then we go on, and everybody's still seated. It's not as like dancey as the first band. They start, they've got like this kind of more rocking number to start off with, and there's just dynamics in music. Sometimes loud songs are louder than quiet songs. And when you do a loud song, the volume goes up. Yeah. So whenever there was a loud song, the guy would he would started texting the guy next to me. He was like, "It's too loud." It's like, it's just a louder song, and I'm not gonna just squeeze them to death here, compress the front, compress it all. It's just gonna sound like shit, and I'm here being employed by this band to make them sound good, so I'm just gonna do the best for them, And then so I said, no, it's not, and whatever. Yeah, so then I see him. He's coming at me from the side, and there's like next to the mixing desk, it's all seated, and it's like a cinema thing, and he's kind of like shuffling down this line. I can see him, he's in his suit, and he comes up to me, and he's like, "It's crazy loud." It's not crazy loud. He's like, "There's people leaving, and there's no one left. Like maybe somebody got up to go to the toilet, but nobody's leaving. It's just fine." And I said, and he was really, really annoyed. And I'm like, look, listen. I'll turn it down a little bit. So just because he was so distressed. So I have this like plug-in rig, and I'm running like an insert on my left and right. So I've got like this input and output. It goes into this thing.
Yeah.
Well, I show him. I turn the output down, a few dB. Doesn't really make that much difference. But no, I'm doing something, and he's just like, no, you have to turn it right down. And I was like, the next song is going to be quiet and it'll be fine, and I'm trying to calm him down, and he starts grabbing me. He's grabbed my arm.
Fucking hell.
I'm looking at him. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's just steam coming out of his ears. And he's,
where's the other engineer in all this? The guy who's babysitting you.
He sat there. He's just like laughing, basically. And I'm, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he was like, you have to turn it down right now. And basically, I just lost it. I was like, you can just fuck off. Just fuck off. And I pushed him away. And he just went for me. It was just crazy. He's just he's trying to climb over me, grab the left and right fader. And I'm just, at this point, I'm just slamming. I'm sat in a chair and I'm slamming my chair back into him, pinning him against his wall. Just fuck off. And there's these couples sat behind us, and they're like going, please, no.
My fucking God.
It was fucking ridiculous.
Holy shit.
Wow.
That's fucking mad, man. That is mad. And like, I mean, what happened? Did he just fuck off, or did people grab him?
I told him that to fuck off, and that I was going to punch him if he didn't fuck off.
Okay.
And then he fucked
off. Yeah.
Well, so I was expecting the security to come the next thing.
Wow.
Do you think these places, I remember when you have this bully. I had this once with Dirty Beaches, and Alex from Dirty Beaches dealt with it really well. But you have this like person who has who you're in this microcosm that is this one venue or organization, and this person's a bully, and they shout at people. Everybody's frightened of them or whatever, and then we come in, or you're not my fucking boss. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. And you try and bully these people coming in, and it's just going to go really badly because people don't like bullies. But they get this kind of false sense of like, I'm the authority here, and it must happen all the time.
Yeah. It reminds me of this gig we played in Frankfurt, and we were sound checking, and the owner of the venue comes running up to Rakes. What are you doing? This is too loud. People will die. People will die. And we were all like, yeah, fucking with a bit of luck, man. The best gig ever. But he was so fucking stressed out, and he's tried everything within his power to pretty much, I think he wanted to pull the gig at one point,
Yeah.
But I can't remember how we talked him down. I can't really remember how we talked him down. But
did you get to play it?
Yeah, we played it. I can't remember. I think we did, because Rakes is usually pretty good at sort of navigating that stuff.
Yeah,
he's always getting there.
He's a charmer.
Yeah, and he's got that kind of like, he just looks so young, and like people are kind of like,
please, I'm not going to kill anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell me, like, I mean, because one of the things we were out, when was it? We were out in November, out in Holland, and we noticed we were chatting to the engineers. We were playing the Guess Who, doing a couple of gigs there. Nice. And the engineers there were like it's 103 dB limit or whatever, and like this is how it is. And luckily they were amazing. That tech crew were really good at helping to like make it as best as we could, sort of be a really good show.
103 is fine.
Yeah, it's definitely
loud.
Fine.
It's loud.
But they were saying like, basically this is how it's going to be. This is how it is all along across Holland and Belgium now. So it seems like it's 103 seems to be the limit now, but it's obviously just going to get taken down further. I think. I mean, that's another thing, isn't it, to sort of think about with touring? Is like there's a lot of these like volume laws or whatever the fuck they're called being brought into play.
It seems. I mean, some venues have neighbours.
Yeah,
and that's a fair enough. As long as people are, as long as people are honest, about it. I remember a TODD gig once in London. There's this guy. He's just like, when BB King first came to the UK, he used to turn his amp round, like face against the wall, and it's just like, just tell me that your neighbours complain. I just, like, you're not going to convince me to turn my amp round because of the sound that I want. That's just not going to happen. Just be honest. And then like, if you're a reasonable person, it's like, well, I don't want you to get shut down. I mean, it's a bit weird that you booked an extremely loud band to play in your venue. When you've got neighbours that are constantly complaining. But with the legal stuff, it sometimes you can just, I try to ignore it unless somebody is very, very insistent.
Because you don't want to get a lot of venue fined. I mean, that's one of the things that we don't want to do, is like get somebody fined and fucking have them out of cash. Like,
absolutely, and you can try not to kind of be, a bully yourself, at that stage, where you're just like, I'm just going to do this is what happens. But I think, a lot of it is like, like, the way I think about it is that, like, you can't go into a gallery as a gallery owner and being like, oh, I really like your painting, but could you just make it a little bit less red? This is not, it's not, you're compromising the art at some stage. You are compromising the art, and it wouldn't happen to any other, like, you're jumping a little bit high in your ballet routine, like we've got these, like there's whatever, whatever you have to. I mean, it's a constant.
It used to really upset me, man. Like the thing when you'd go to a venue and they're like, you can't do this. And the thing that the straw that broke the camel's back for me, which so I don't actually let it bother me anymore and just work with it, was we were in this place called Dixmude in Belgium, playing a gig there, new venue. They were paying us a big money. I think it was the biggest fee that we had up to that date. It was really good money. Everything was amazing. They laid on this beautiful spread. I was like, fucking hell, wow, best gig ever. And there was going to be a good crowd there. We'd had a lot of chatting to people on social media and that. We knew that there was going to be a good crowd there. And we got on stage to sound check, and they were like, I think it had to be like 100 dB or something like this. And like we had two drummers, and we were kind of like, fucking snare drums fucking 98 dB, like what the fuck. And and then I just got, so I was like trying to compromise. I was saying, right, okay, we're not going to do a normal gig, we're going to do like a drone gig or something. And the guy at the venue was begging us, and he was like, no, it has to be the big band, we want to hear the big band. And I was like, but you can't hear the big band. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I got so frustrated, but then I've just got to let this shit go, because it's, what can you do? And we did the show, and it sounded shit. I think on stage it was like we were playing acoustic. But they fucking loved it. The crowd loved it. So I mean, who's to say what there?
I think that's you compromising too much.
I agree, man. And
the thing is, that the stupid thing is that all of this stuff is, everyone at that venue wants it to be loud. You want it to be loud. All the crowd want it to be loud. They've paid money to see you, to see this thing, and because somebody, like I bet the venue supplied earplugs. It's slightly dangerous going to a loud gig.
Yeah, as you were saying before, you know, the it gets to a point where it's like you're compromising what you're actually doing. Because I remember at that Dixmude gig, we actually extended the drop downs of the songs because he was like, if you play at a certain level for too long, then the meter's going to go off.
Yeah,
and I think he even said like the police will come immediately or something.
Well, it was a brand new venue, wasn't it? And it was obviously really heavily Arts Council and probably local government funded thing.
Yeah.
So it was like everything seemed to be everybody seemed a bit nervous about it, didn't they? Like, but it was so weird because it was like, you're paying us all this fucking money. We want to blow your fucking head off. Come on, like let's put a sock around this fucking microphone. Whatever we've got to do. Do you know?
I've tried that as well. It does work sometimes.
Yeah, it does sometimes.
But the worst ones is when they're in line, when it's just in.
Yeah, that's a fucker.
There's nothing you can do.
There's no way around that. There's no way around it. Last year at Roadburn, we were playing there. We got a last minute show. Saved the tour, actually. Saved the tour.
Hang on, my dog is howling. I've just got to let her in up here.
Okay.
She does not like being on her own.
What kind of dog is she? Bless. Nice. Yeah, I don't have a dog, but I have a dog that comes to visit me every day here in Ireland. He's a massive, like, I guess he's a golden lab, but one of those big hairy golden labs.
Oh yeah.
And he just slobbers everywhere. He's just constant drool. But he's an absolute legend, and he just loves to come in and just like sit next. If he was here now, he'd just be sat next to me, just watching me do stuff. You know, I love him, man. He's nice company.
Don't walk over that. I've tried all sorts of stuff with the volume thing, and you just got to take it by each gig. I mean, like Switzerland's really, really restrictive a lot of the time.
Yeah, Switzerland is a fucker, man. Yeah,
I was mixing there last November, and it was one of the loudest gigs I've ever mixed, I think.
Okay, well,
and the guy was just like, he either just didn't care, or I mean, he wasn't really working for the venue. He just kind of came back and he kind of looked at the meter, and it was like 113 or something.
Yeah,
and he was just like looked at me, and I was just like, I don't know what happened.
Oh. Man,
yeah.
Sound engineers are fucking heroes, man. They're the unsung heroes of the game. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't be all those dickheads up on the stage getting any round of applause. Everybody should turn around and fucking applaud the sound engineer.
Thank you for deafening me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, fucking. You just reminded me there of when you're talking about Switzerland. We did a show there with like a gong tribute band, but with a guy who had been given a guitar by David Allen. Is that his name? David Allen it is, isn't it?
Right.
And he had one of David Allen's guitars. So all the crowd that came to watch the gong tribute band or whatever kind of like branch off band, where they were all like worshipping the guitar, like, whoa, every time he played the guitar, people were like. And I thought they were cool because I don't mind a bit of gong. I don't mind that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. So they played before us. So then we went to do our gig. We did the gig. Most of the people left sort of like 20 minutes into the show. I was like, oh, okay. But they were all getting on a bit anyway. And we went backstage, and the David Allen guy, he was just like, yeah. You guys, you play just too loud. That's not rockin'. He said something like, that's not rock and roll. That's like something like soul destruction or something. He said, it's not rock and roll, it's soul destroying or something. I'm like, fucking hey, granddad, fuck off.
Oh,
give us that guitar.
Yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like some gigs, like I do walk into a lot of rooms and I am like, this is unnecessarily loud.
Yeah. Like what? Come on, give us a time. What bands to you? What?
It happens to me all the time. All the time.
Okay.
It's not. And I think when I was first starting, I used to mix extremely loud. I mix everybody loud.
Mm-hmm.
But you just, just get over it.
Yeah,
but it's like I said before, it's mixing appropriately for the situation. For the band, you're kind of there to, you know, get there, whatever they're doing. You're there to facilitate them, you know, and it's not about, oh, I'm getting really into this snare reverb at the moment, and it's being the complete wrong choice for that act. You know, you have to use the right tools. And
I think that happens a lot with young engineers. Like they're kind of like see themselves as kind of like, oh yeah, like I can delay your vocal for you. And the person who's singing is like, what the fuck are you doing? You know. So like they're just kind of showing off a little bit of their skills, and it takes a bit of time for them to like realize what you just said, which is like you're there to just make them sound
how they want to sound.
Yeah.
You know, and for the audience to kind of maintain attention, and you know, but you know, it's very addictive. You know, have it. You know, like the first time you push up a kick drum in the system and it's got some decent sub in it, and it's just like, you know, and that feeling is, I still get it, you know, and I still, you know, like sometimes, and it's just like, that's really hitting me in the chest, you know, and you know, and it does take a while for that, you know, you know, because it kind of blinds you to a lot of other stuff. You kind of refocus back to things, you know. It's always the kick drums as well.
Yeah, it's that sub,
bands, and it's just so loud. It's like, this is just, it's just, I can't hear like anything else on the low end. There's no, you know, it's just swamping everything, and it's just, you know.
And do you miss performing at all, Lawrence? I mean, you play with the Alcoholics now as well, don't you?
Oh no, I did. I think I did like one gig with them. Well, I was rehearsing. It was when I was like, I think it was just a period that I wasn't working for a couple of months, and you know, I was really enjoying it. You know, seeing Reese all the time, and Tony, and
ass fuckers, those two. Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun, and then we did a gig, and then like, oh, we're rehearsing this week, can't do it. We're rehearsing. Oh, for the next 6 rehearsals, can't do it. You know, and I just said that, you know, I'm just going to be this is going to start really pissing you off if it hasn't already started pissing you off. So I just had to kind of be like, you got to find somebody else, which is a shame, but I really enjoyed it. But I don't know, I don't really have that much space for it. And, you know, I spent years doing it, and I enjoyed it immensely when I was doing it. Maybe I'll do it again.
Yeah, because you were good at it, man. Like, I remember the show at the Salford, was it the Salford Arms or the King's Arms at
the
Sounds
TODD
from the
gig?
Other City? Yeah, when you were on
you were at that?
Yeah, when you were on roller skates.
No, that was down in London. That was at the old Truman Brewery.
No.
Was
I the one upstairs at the King's Arms? You were playing with Todd at Sounds from the Other City Festival.
Yeah.
Was I on roller skates?
You were on roller skates.
Yeah,
and you were obviously you didn't know how to fucking roller skate, and you were fucking just falling about,
grabbing pints, flicking pints out of
that was it. Yeah, you grabbed some fucking guy. Oh yeah, you grabbed him from behind, and you lifted him up. Like, so he was, and he had his pint in his hand, and you lifted him up and just tipped his pint all over you and him, and then just fucking slid around the place. I think the gig lasted for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, maybe something like that. It was great.
Still drinking.
And then somebody wanted to beat you up at the end of the gig, and you was like, hide me.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I remember that show because there was a song in the set where I didn't sing. So I'd gone down. I don't remember wearing roller skates like that, because I'd went downstairs. So I must have gone downstairs in my roller skates.
You were in roller skates, man.
To get a pint. And then it was kind of busy at the bar, and there was a bloke at the bar, and he said to me, like, "What are you doing up there?" Like, he was like, "You can't do that." I wasn't attacking people, but I was, you know, throwing myself around. And I was just, "Oh, shut up!" And then I was like, "Buy me a pint," and he did. and whilst he was at the bar, they started the next song, which I was singing of. So I ran up the stairs, started playing, and then he kind of came through the crowd and handed me this pint, and I just threw it at him.
Oh, that was it. Yeah,
then,
that was it.
And then he attacked me, and I was trying to kind of. I'm always getting attacked. Yeah. So then I was trying to skirt around the road, and I was like hiding behind people, going, "He's attacking me! You've all seen it. I've been assaulted." And then it ended up with me just taking him down, and I just had him on the floor, just kind of wrapped up. And
oh
he was
my god!
going, "Get the fuck up!" It was bad. It was bad. But yeah, like I said, I think that was the last gig I drunk at.
Yeah.
When I was singing in TODD.
Fucking hell. Oh my god, that's fucking gas. You guys must have been an absolute fucking riot to be out on the road with. Fucking hell. If every gig had the possibility of going that way, which I'm sure a lot of them would have done.
Yeah, I got beaten up a lot in TODD. I got kicked unconscious a couple of times, and
fucking hell.
Yeah, but it was just so much fun. It's so, I've never been in a fight in my life, but I've definitely been beaten up a lot.
Wow.
But I've never hit anybody.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. Just like there's this other side of my personality that I just got to kind of really explore and shit and shine and TODD, and I really appreciated being given that opportunity by Craig.
I bet Craig loved it as well. He's just on stage going, there he is.
I think he did sometimes. I think I probably ruined a few shows as well. There was a show, I think, at the Corsica. It was us in Oxbow, and I was just so drunk, and I knocked over our bass player's 70-year-old mother, and and she'd had and just I walked on, just threw my glasses at the wall. I can't really see without my glasses, and then I think my cock was hanging out, and it was just really bad. And I think the crowd just shouting "loser" at me,
wow,
which I think was quite humiliating for the rest of them. I don't really remember. But it was, I think that Chris didn't speak to me for a couple of weeks after that, and I'll try and.
Holy shit, man! That is an amazing kind of thing to go through live on stage in front of people. That is some serious character building. If you can do shit like that and then go back on and do more gigs and fucking laugh about it now, I mean, that's some transformative experience. As fucked up as some of those things are, that's pretty transformative experience. Yeah. Wow. What the fuck was the guy's 70-year-old fucking mother doing at the gig anyway? I mean, do you know what I mean?
She was coming to see her son play bass.
Wow. Fucking hell. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ageist or anything like that. It's grand, but do you think at 70 years of age at a TODD gig, it's a TODD gig.
Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. Like, tell your mum to put her helmet on or whatever. Do you know?
Tell her to put a rollerblading helmet on. You can have my rollerblading helmet.
Oh man,
but I do miss it sometimes. But I really enjoy facilitating other people, and especially with TODD. When I was singing, I got some really nasty head injuries, and you can't do that, and you get in your 40s, you can't do that.
Yeah,
shouldn't be doing it in my 30s or early 30s or whatever it was, and I remember smacking my head a couple of nights in a row on concrete floors, and then we were playing at the Sonic Ballroom in Cologne, and I just remember being standing kind of we were playing, and I just remember it just being quite hot, and then my hearing was just going in and out, somebody was just connecting it and disconnecting it, and I was just I'm gonna fucking die, this is stupid. I had a nasty head injury, and I'm just standing here, and now my hearing's just I can't hear anything.
Fucking hell, man.
And I got really paranoid, and I just remember like sitting in the car on the way back. Oh, I've got fucking brain hemorrhage, and oh my god, and getting myself in a real state. And
Wow.
What was wrong with you? Did you find out?
no, I went to the doctors, and he was very unsympathetic to me.
Yeah. Like,
I was like, I've been, had some nasty head injuries recently, and he just went, oh, look like this, look, follow my hand with your eyes. He's like, you're fine, and I was just like, oh no, I'm gonna die. This guy isn't gonna die.
That's fucking fucking hell.
Lawrence, what got you into music? Like, what was your earliest kind of music influence or memory?
I guess probably like my dad used to really like Tina Turner, so he used to listen to Tina Turner quite a lot.
What, the Icon Tina stuff? Or
no, like later Tina,
right?
Like, 80s Tina.
Nice.
But I started hanging around the forum in Tunbridge Wells when I was about 15.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just great for me because there was a good scene down in the town at the time, and that venue, was on the kind of touring circuit. So I saw it was around the kind of Britpop era.
Yeah.
Saw lots of those type of bands at the time, and it was just great. And it was just as soon as I started hanging around it, I was just like, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was you into music before that though? Was you like listening to music and all that stuff? And in the 80s?
Yeah, I was born in 1981.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, like my parents were listening to like Genesis and Tina Turner and Van Morrison. I guess Jean-Michel Jarre was big for me and my little brother when we were little kids.
What Van Morrison album? Do you remember what Van Morrison album?
It would have been Moondance, I think.
Okay, which is not bad. I don't mind Moondance. It's all right.
Yeah. I listened to it recently in a van, and I was like, oh, the lyrics in this record are really like, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna fuck you. It's really like quite aggressive sexually.
Yeah, I mean, you could even say that some of his Astral Weeks, some of that more like poetic stuff. There's a bit of weird stuff like that in it too,
Yeah,
I'm a big. I actually, there's a Van Morrison album called Veed and Fleece. Do you know it?
I don't think so.
Man,
what era?
It's just after Astral Weeks, maybe an album or two after it.
Okay.
Man, I tell you, it's fucking beautiful. It is stunning. It's a stunning record. It's like everything else that guy is any bad. People slag him off a lot these days because of his opinions on COVID or whatever. I could give a fuck about that. That Veed and Fleece is like a gateway to like a secret universe. He's amazing. Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just interrupted your flow there. I'm sorry, man.
It's all right. I think I was done with Moondance there.
Yeah. I remember Moondance from being a kid and being in the car with my stepdad and my mum, and they had that on cassette. And it was like, I think they had two cassettes. One was Tina Turner with the album with Steamy Windows. It might have been Greatest Hits or something.
Maybe we had the same parents.
And the other was Moondance. So, and I remember being a kid and like I kind of memorized every fucking track on there, all the lyrics, everything. Yeah. So I'm all right with Moondance. All right with it.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I just hadn't listened to it for a long time, and I just found the lyrics to be like very like, ooh.
Yeah,
I'm got a bit of a chip on their shoulder.
I'm gonna listen to it after this. Choking on my vape.
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm gonna start smoking again, man. This vaping shit is killing me.
Yeah, I managed to quit, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I was on the vape for a little while, but it's.
Yeah, I'm off the booze. I'm off the booze since September. Well, November really, because I had a couple of drinks on my wedding night in November.
Oh yeah, congratulations!
Yeah, and to you too. You got married too, didn't you?
I certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. It's good. Being married is mint. Yeah,
I love
I'm into it. I've not had a drink since then, and I've not smoked any weed. Oh God, it must be coming. It'll be close to a year. No, it'll be August or something then.
Yeah.
It's the best thing ever, man. It's the best thing. Being like off the sauce and off the weed. It's like, oh wow, yeah, I can actually do things without feeling like a freak, you know, like weed brings me so far into my head that I'm like almost like permanently self-conscious about what I'm doing and that, and rather than just being able to shake shit off and just crack on.
You should start smoking hash. That's what hash is for, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
I always liked smoking hash and mixing because it would make me really focused.
Okay. Yeah.
I could just completely zone into what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know really, you know, with all of the computer stuff now, whether that would freak me out just trying to problem solve stuff. But
yeah, I can't imagine it being stoned. I mean, I have enough trouble if I've smoked a big fat joint and I've got to just plug my fucking pedals in. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, where's my patch leads? Where's my patch leads? They're there. Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, I do remember doing a gig in Rotterdam once with Todd. It was a really good Todd gig in the end. But like we went out like after the soundcheck to buy some hash. And I just I was saying to Craig, oh, let's just get some together. He's like, no, I want my own. I was like, okay. We bought our own and then like just smoked. And it was weird as well because we didn't smoke till we went off like a dirty secret, smoked on our own somewhere. And then came back for the sound. Like we were setting up, and I just remember like getting my case with all my pedals and stuff in it, which I didn't have many of. I think I had like 2 pedals. And just looking at it and just sitting there, oh my God. And then just looking across the stage, I just see Craig just staring me blankly into this box. Yeah. And we just looked over at each other. It was just like, oh no.
Yeah. We know that.
Way too far.
Yeah, I know that feeling so well. Fucking hell. Well, I mean, on that note, I mean, we've got 2 minutes left but I mean, this has been a really, really nice chat, Lawrence. I really appreciate you coming and talking to us, you know. And also your fucking enthusiasm is infectious, man. And your approach to this whole touring shtick and this music thing it's really great. It's really great to hear. Because for me, I can get a bit jaded and be thinking like, why am I doing this? And just to hear your perspective on it, it just helps me to remember, actually, fucking hell, it's great. It's so great.
It is great. It's so much fun. Yeah. It's so much fun. Especially, you know, you've got a nice group of people around you as well.
Oh, man, really good touring people. Gnod is like the best people to be on the road with. Like, it really is a good bunch of heads.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
and you know that Andy's out there.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. You know, having an engineer that you can trust and you know that's doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's a massive load off, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, it's good to have. And they're just lovely boys, really. You know, there's never that much drama these days. It's always just like, it's like, I mean, I always appreciate it when I'm with the lads out there doing it. It's usually just a bit before it where I'm like, especially now it's got a bit harder. It's just like, fuck's sake, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a bit of a drama queen sometimes, so there is that as well, so fuck it.
I've never seen that. In you, Paddy, but
if we were out on the road together for a month, you'd see the bit of a drama queen, definitely.
Maybe we'll do it and I'll inject some drama into your life.
Yeah. Put me on some fucking roller skates and fucking send me out.